Good morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you guys are having a great start to your Tuesday. We're going to switch it up this morning and really talk about what is likely going to happen tomorrow, as I feel like we should be doubling up our videos, talking about the severe weather outbreak that is now likely for tomorrow. Severe weather has increased. The Storm Prediction Center has now dropped a massive moderate risk. Who knows, there might be a higher risk. Right now, I'm leaning towards that not happening. But really, this is damaging wind driven, but there is a significant chance of tornadoes also. So we're going to talk about that in this video. It's pretty much going to be cut and dry information. I'm not going to keep you all long. It's not going to be a 15-20 minute video or anything. We're going to get really deep into this evening. So stay tuned for this, but I'm going to give you guys some good cut and dry information in this video too. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button for me. Like the video if you like it. This is really from Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. Really, the folks in the deep south really need to be on alert for tomorrow as a damaging squall line is going to move through. So right now, look at this. Moderate risk now up. This is much bigger than the one that happened last week for these same kind of areas. This is including Jackson, basically 90% of Mississippi, a large area of Louisiana, and basically the entire west central half of Alabama, almost includes Birmingham. You're right on the fringe of moderate and enhanced, but don't focus so much on what highlighted area you're in. Just know that you are going to see severe weather also. But look at the enhanced risk all the way up into the Quad States region. Slight risk extends all the way into the Ohio Valley, southern sections of Indiana and Illinois. But we're really going to focus on this section. Then we'll talk about everybody as a whole a little bit more tonight. But look at this tornado risk. A 15% risk in this moderate area of a tornado occurring at 25 miles in any given location. This hatched area, the area in the black outline area with the black dashes going through, that is what you call a hatched area. So it's that same level. Basically, the hatched area and the 15% risk, you have an equal chance, a 15% risk to seeing a stronger tornado in 25 miles in any given location, which is an EF2 or higher. Same thing in the 10% risk in the hatched areas, which is those black outlined areas with the dashes going through it. That is a 10% risk to see a stronger tornado. That is a risk on its own. I mean, that is substantial, right? But the damaging wind threat with this, you see this purple area? That is a 45% chance, 25 miles in any given location to seeing wind damage tomorrow with this squall line. I mean, that is almost a 50-50 shot. And then in the hatched area, you have basically a 10% risk to see 65 knots or greater in 25 miles in any given location. So you have this tornado risk pretty substantial here. And I said this wrong here. A 10% risk, even in the 15% risk to see a stronger tornado. So I described that a little bit wrong. Drop a 5% risk here in the 15 risk to see a stronger tornado, which is an EF2 or higher. Sorry to get my words a little jumbled up there. The hail threat, really not a big threat here. But let's talk about what this is going to look like tomorrow, potentially. So we're getting into later tonight, getting into tomorrow morning. Here comes the squall line that starts to move through. It begins to intensify as dynamics in place begins to rise in a fast-moving, collapsing, moist sector with dew points raging all the way into the 60s, pretty far north. Further north out of this frame, dew points are rising into the 60s, even in the Quad State regions and the southern sections of the Ohio Valley. But here comes the squall line. You're starting to get into more so around noontime, lunchtime, and then you get into the afternoon hours. So let's go on and stop it right here and talk about this. So here comes the squall line. You notice there's not any prefrontal convection, but that doesn't matter because inside this squall line, you call this a quasi-linear convective system. And basically, it's a line of intense thunderstorms associated with a cold front. In this line, you're going to have little hooks, little indentions, if you will, quick spin-ups, tornadoes with this line. Even as soon as the morning hours and the early afternoon hours in the eastern areas of Arkansas, this will begin to impact areas like Memphis as you get into the early afternoon hours, anywhere between 1 or 3 o'clock. Sometimes these lines tend to move quicker than what the models show, so I have to watch for that. But you notice down here, in these sections right here, you have the highest CAPE values, reaching 500 to maybe just over 1,000 joules per kilogram in CAPE, surface CAPE. That is substantial when you already have the kinematics in place, that wind energy with a low-level jet, blasting at 70, 80 knots potentially in areas. you had the kinematics in place, you had the surface dew points in place, the surface moisture, and you see all these little hooks down here at the tail end of this line, starting to move into south central areas of Mississippi, even Louisiana. Those are where you have to watch out. Embedded supercells that are kind of embedded in this congealed up line of storms. Nothing's really discrete like its own cell, kind of like what we saw in Monday in Texas last week. But these are going to be dangerous storms, especially down here. But up here, as we're getting into the mid-afternoon range, starting to get into about 4 or 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, this is a nasty squall line moving through western areas of Tennessee, areas in the entire state of Mississippi. Well, once you get down here, the dynamics get a lot more favorable for tornadoes right in this area right in here. And you keep this rolling here. I think the same area that potentially that did get hit by the tornado in western areas of New Orleans could see some nasty weather tomorrow. I'm not predicting another tornado down there or anything, but y'all guys could see nasty weather tomorrow afternoon, late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. As we get into the later evening hours, as the sun begins to come down, this line of storms continues to work its way through southeastern areas of Mississippi, and it kind of bows out. So that means areas kind of in the northern part of Alabama begin to get hit, probably before areas of the southern sections of Mississippi. You keep this rolling here, and this is in 2-hour intervals. So we're starting to lose a little bit of steam with this line of storms. But let me tell you down here that I'm telling you, the atmosphere down here is still favorable the entire line's favorable for damaging winds. Guys, there's going to be a wind threat before the line of storms even moves through. And I'll talk about that here briefly here in a second. But down here, even as you're getting into the evening hours, I got family who lives down here, and, they need to be alert. Everybody needs to be alert, and everybody in the deep south. But watch down here. As we get into the nighttime hours, you still have high-end Cape right here. Not high-end Cape, but Cape when you congeal it with all these other dynamics, it's favorable for tornadoes. Watch out here in south central areas and southern sections of Alabama as you're getting, as the sun's going down tomorrow. You keep this rolling here, and there's going to continue to be a severe weather threat. And then it kind of loses its steam. And that's as far out as we'll go for now. We'll go out further tomorrow evening. But the line of storms starts to get kind of bowed out here, and it's just going to be nasty weather tomorrow. Is it comparable to last week? Nothing's comparable from one event to the next. But this is dangerous. This is a low-level jet. We'll keep this going here. It's going absolutely insane, pushing 65, 75, 80 knots ahead of this line. That's about a mile above our atmosphere, the 850 millibar. 850, sorry, I had a little hiccup there. 850 millibar range is about a mile above our heads is what I meant to say. So about 4, 5, 6,000 feet up in the air. So ahead of this line, which are sitting right here as we're getting into about the early afternoon hours Wednesday, we'll stop it here. Ahead of this line, the winds will be mixing down to the surface. And so they'll be pushing 40, 50, maybe 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And we'll check that out here as we're getting going here in time. We're getting into Wednesday, and check it out. This is the line right here. You notice how stable the atmosphere and the winds shift and start moving more out the west, and then the winds are moving more so out the west or west-southwest right here. Ahead of this line, and the line's right in here, you're going to have winds gusting to 30, 40, maybe 50 miles per hour. So you're going to literally feel the atmosphere change before this line moves in for you folks in Mississippi and Alabama tomorrow afternoon and evening. I mean, it's going to be basically the warning before the main event. It's going to get gusty, and winds are going to be a problem all the way into the Ohio Valley. And we'll talk about that more tonight. I'm going to go much more deeper tonight. But winds are going to be an issue, and then obviously along the line, it's going to be an issue. So this is what's going on. You got a fast-moving, collapsing moist sector, which means it's not sticking around long. It pops up just in time to really rapidly intensify the dynamics of the system. Dew points pushing into the 60s. Ahead of this line, really, the dew points really aren't that high unless you get way down here. That's why I'm worried about a tornado threat down in this area. Got to watch out. You really do. The Cape levels, surface Cape. We'll take a look at this. This is what you watch out for right here. Watch this Cape that builds down here ahead of this squall line. This is going to match in with all the other dynamics you have in play, the kinematics, that wind energy that we talk about often, and that is going to increase a tornado threat down here. That's why if you back up and look at this tornado threat, it's the highest right down here, and I'm really watching this area down here. But there's going to be a tornado threat along this line. I don't want to kind of discount the tornado threat along the actual line because it's going to be real. The entire environment is favorable for tornadoes, but You know, you watch down here as you get into the late evening hours for tornadoes down here in central and southern areas of Mississippi, southern areas of Alabama. You got to watch out when you're flirting, and even as you get into the overnight hours. Look at how this Cape briefly rises to around 1,500 joules per kilogram, and down here in the far western areas of the Panhandle of Florida, far southern areas of Alabama, near Mobile. You know, y'all guys had a tornado from the event last week, so dangerous situation. So you look at the tornado parameter. You know, it's not massive for a widespread area, but look at those southern sections down here. I'm telling you guys, watch these areas down here. This is where I really think the highest tornado threat's going to be, but I could be totally wrong. That's just my, you know, part of doing this is not just looking at models and telling you what the model's showing us. It's giving my own opinion on what I think could possibly happen. And I really think when you start to push Cape values over 1,000, I really think, and you add it with all these other impressive dynamics in play with this system, you really start to increase the tornado threat. So prayers out for anybody affected. Use today to prepare. You know, have a safe place. And you guys know all too well about these kind of systems in March and April and May. So God bless everybody. I'll have you a video tonight. Really, really extensive video. Probably, you know, one of those longer 20-minute videos. Really breaking down the system as a whole. Try to keep people up to date. Of course, there'll be excellent people out there, you know, doing their live broadcast during the event. I won't be chasing this event, so I'll let them folks take over when this event really starts. But hit me up on Twitter, guys. Really do. Hit me up on Twitter. I retweet everybody's content. I'm not one of the people who are just all about my content, and that's it. I retweet everybody's storm chasing stuff, so it's a great way to really stay up to date with what's going on. You know, there's storm chasers out there in the middle of this, so that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a blessed Tuesday.